Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're very happy to be presenting this webinar jointly between PairSoft and ourselves at Binary Stream. Today, we'll be talking about managing centralized and decentralized payables in Dynamics 365 Business Central. Let me flip my slide. Just a quick look at our agenda. Today, we'll be starting out with an introduction, customer use case. Then we'll hop over into the solutions overview and demo. And finally, we'll have room for Q&A. Throughout the call, you can leave any questions that you would like in the side panel on the right, or you can download any of our handouts that are available as well. If you have any quick feedback or any questions, you can leave it in the chat and a member of the panel will be able to respond to you right away, or we might take the questions at the end. Okay, so for today, we have a couple of different presenters joining us today, starting out with Don Ramsey. Don's a senior solutions consultant here at Binary Stream, responsible for Business Central. Don comes with long experience ranging from being a controller, running finance teams, and being a user of Dynamics himself, and then eventually moving into being a solutions consultant here at Binary Stream. So he brings a wealth of experience and knowledge about the industry. We also have Rowan Lemley, who's the Director of Product Marketing at PairSoft, along with Janet Martin, who's the Director of Customer Success at PairSoft, and lastly, myself, Khaled Nasra, Head of Marketing at Binary Stream. We're all very happy to share our knowledge with you and explain why this topic is so important for our customers and maybe yourselves as companies to be using it today, and understanding the value of having that flexibility, whether you do want to centralize your payables, you want to keep them decentralized, and I'm sure the PairSoft team is very excited to talk to you much more about their incredible experience and knowledge in the AP automation space. Sorry, my arrows are not moving, so I'm gonna keep on flipping here. We wanted to set some context for us today and just share this quick statistic from our State of AP report for 2020. We're seeing that 64% of all organizations have made an effort to prioritize electronic payments in 2021, and they were very intentional that they wanted to prioritize this. We know that in many parts of the world, this has been an ongoing shift for many years, but really not the same case for North America, where there was a bit of a slower transition to electronic payments. And a lot of companies did not have a system in place, and many of them are still trying to make the decision. So we find that it's really helpful to come together as two companies here in our example, PairSoft and Binary Stream, and share all the experience and background info that we have to help you make a better decision about your AP automation. So a quick intro about Binary Stream in case you're unfamiliar with us. We're a Microsoft Gold partner with over 20 years of experience. Last year, we were the Partner of the Year finalist for Dynamics 365 Business Central. We're a member of a few different ISV programs that highlight our success with Microsoft, and our solutions are designated as Microsoft Preferred Solutions on AppSource. We have a very active engagement channel with our partners, and we work collaboratively to always ensure that our products meet the needs of our over 2,000 customers that span over 25 countries. And of course, we support our solutions in a horizontal space across a wide range of industries, including manufacturing, finance, telecom, healthcare, and many more. At a quick glance, we have a few different products. We're not going to be touching on all of these today. We're going to be focused on multi-entity management. But of course, if after the webinar you would like to talk to me or Don or anyone about our other solutions, feel free to reach out. About multi-entity management, just really quickly, it's a solution that we built really iteratively with customers to automate intercompany transactions and processing, especially for companies that have multiple business units, establish a clear organizational structure for them and give them insights into each role's access level. So having that user entity security management, managing a single set of master records. So you can really think about if you have multiple franchises and all of them use the same vendor, but each of them have a different naming convention for the vendors. That's going to quickly turn into a mess. So that's why we encourage the singularization and standardization of the master records, and finally managing the security roles like I touched on. With that, I'll hand over to the PairSoft team to give a quick intro on themselves.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really great to be here. We definitely appreciate Binary Stream and the partnership, and having this opportunity to connect with this audience is valuable for us. So if you don't know PairSoft, well, I'll just do a brief introduction. We do like to say that we automate so you can innovate, but it really is more about managing processes effectively. Managing processes, people, financial resources across multiple systems, it's very challenging. We all know this. And our goal really is to just build solutions that help individuals and organizations by improving the visibility, making it easy for them to take action, and when required, even providing them the insights to predict bottlenecks as well as opportunities. We do all this within your ERP. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about where we've come from and sort of where we're going here. We all know that we live in interesting times, and at PairSoft, we kind of believe that fortune favors the bold. And back in 2019 and 2020, we really created the foundation of our vision for Procure to Pay, and we did that by consolidating 3 brands: PaperSave, Paramount Workplace, and DocuPeek into one combined mid-market leading solution provider. It took us a year to get really organized, but by early 2022, we were able to launch analytics and peer benchmarking, and very soon we will be launching payments. Next year, we're going to add procurement to the platform. We already have procurement, but we're going to be adding it to the single code base, which we're very excited about. And in the following year or years, we'll be extending our purchase to pay platform with vendor management and more, all designed to bring enterprise level capability to the mid-market. Next slide, please. So the portfolio today, as said, really does cover the purchase to pay space already. We've got procurement, supplier management, accounts payable automation, payments management, and analytics. And we're excited by all of it. And as said, I've included payments here, but in fact, we're only officially launching it mid-August. So watch this space. Next slide, and my final slide. So lastly, it really is all about adding value to our customers through our solutions. And this is across procurement, payables, and payments management. We like to help our customers manage 100% of their spend through our solution. We believe we can give them transactional cost savings that are significant in terms of offering an ROI. Obviously, we can free up a lot of their time in both our, well, in fact, across the entire purchase to pay. And we also can help them continuously improve with our analytics, which we offer that also has community benchmarking, which I think is pretty interesting. So that's my short and sweet introduction. I hope I didn't go over time. But again, most people on this call already know PairSoft. Back to you.
That's an awesome intro. Thank you, Rowan. And it's really great to see the bold vision you have. I think it's really nice to see where PairSoft is going and how you can continue helping companies manage the overall ecosystem that they have in all their payments. In today's webinar, we wanted to contextualize the use case that we have between Binary Stream and PairSoft. We have many shared customers, but we want to make sure that this is something that is applicable and you can understand it detached from just hopping on and showing you a demo. So in this case, we're going to be looking at Grand Restaurants Inc. It's a global franchising corporation, has 350 different locations across North America. And they have a head regional location that manages all vendor relations in the region and must be able to approve any outgoing payments. So this process, as you might expect, without PairSoft, without multi-entity management, is very tedious. It requires an entire division of accounting team to manage it, and that really takes away from their ability to make decisions and focus on actual insights. So quick review of their goals. They want to streamline intercompany transactions. They want to improve their AP process, and they want to centralize reporting across multiple entities. But their challenges today are the requirement for manual processes, which take up a lot of time, and they have to hop through multiple Dynamics 365 BC windows for each AP transaction. They have disparate data, and it's not accessible across the different companies that they have to switch into and out of in BC, and they have complex security structures that they manage today. With that context, we'll hop over into our live demos, and we'll start off by switching presenters, and I'll hand it over to you, Don.
All right, I'm looking for my ability to present, and there it is right there. So show my screen. Which screen? I'll try this one. You let me know, please, if you see Business Central.
Yes, we can.
All right, so let me explain. So I'm going to focus simply on one aspect of working inside BC here, and that is how can I handle many restaurant facilities or any other facility without having to go from one unit to another BC environment to another BC environment. Can I do it in a more efficient manner? And the answer is yes, you can. Look at my BC company here. This is a demo company, of course. You'll see this Cronus Canada. It's one company. If I look at my companies, and this is standard Business Central now, how many do I have? Well, Business Central is going to tell me I have one. That's it. That's all I have in my system. Yet I may have 1,500 restaurants, and there actually is a customer out there that has 1,500 restaurants. They're all individual reporting companies, and they're sitting in one BC company. So how do we do it? Well, the first thing we have to do is find a way to uniquely identify each of these restaurant chains, restaurant locations. We're going to do that with dimensions. If you're not aware of this already, probably the most powerful aspect or part of Business Central right now is the dimension capability. It takes the place of segmented account structures and all things like that. You use them when you want to, you don't when you don't want to. You can have as many as you like. But in Business Central, they do provide you with two global dimensions. And by definition, I'm sure you realize that global is everywhere. And that's the bottom line. So we're going to pick one of those two dimensions to identify our company. What's nice about this is it's a standard part of Business Central. We're not trying to recode it, reinvent the wheel. It is a basic functionality. So I've called my dimension value company. When I look inside at all the detail values, these are all my chains, all my different units. If I want to add another restaurant, one in Boston, for example, I could go 920, and then I could tab off that, and I could say facility. Did I type that right? Not your chance, but that doesn't matter. 3725. And guess what? I have just added the ability, or actually added another company restaurant to this chain, just like that. Now, is there possibly more to it? Well, of course there is. I may have to make sure they have access to vendors and to customers and to the chartered accounts will be there already and that type of thing. But I don't have to create new ones. There may be a vendor that we use to share restaurant equipment or food supplies all across the country. Well, that's fine. I just share it. That's all I have to do. So it's that simple to actually add another entity, another restaurant to the chain. Now, having said that, how do I uniquely identify them? Well, let's go back to head office here, for example, and look at my MEM entity setup. There's my head office. This happens to be in Brockton, Massachusetts. I could have a federal ID number. I could have a tax registration number. I've used our own logo just for the sake of making it legal. And I could have a homepage and a website. What else can I do? Well, if you scroll down with me, I can have a billing address unique per each restaurant, per each location. I can have different shipping information for them if they have a different shipping location. I can have a bank account, and this might come in at PairSoft, where I'm going to use this one bank account to pay the bills for all my restaurants, or they're all going to pay their own bills. It doesn't matter. You can set it up either way. And then I can do something rather unique. I can say, even though we're in one Business Central company, and by the way, Business Central is going to go on and continue to think that they are it's just one company. So it'll never ask for intercompany transactions or anything like that. But Mem will take care of that for you. We can get into that in a couple of minutes. What else we can do though is we can say restaurant 000, all the invoices from sales for that restaurant, I'm going to start with S-INV-000. All the purchase transactions are going to start with P-INV-000. Restaurant number 1 would be 001. Restaurant number 2 would be 002, or any other letters that you want to put in front. Now, when I want to extract data, when I want to compare transactions, I can do it very, very easily. So we set up the basic value. So keep in mind, at this point, we have not changed the way Business Central works out of the box. We've not recoded anything. So let's get back out. We've set dimensions, and let's take about 5 minutes. I'm going to focus on the payable side of things and the purchase side of things for this particular demo. We're going to set it up. This is my main setup. Again, we can go in here and say, remember I mentioned we don't have to add new vendors or chart of accounts, but we can lock them down. I've got vendor security for the purpose of this particular webinar locked down. The number series I just showed you, we can lock that down as unique for each of the restaurants and so on and so forth. We can also decide whether we want to do decentralized payables or centralized payables. This is an administrative setting. So if I click on this, I can say, you know what, we're going to turn off decentralized. So from now on, it's going to be centralized. But understand, it's no extra work. If you want to pay everything from head office, you can do that very, very comfortably. So we've started setting things up. Once we've done that, and again, we're not going to go to every aspect of that today. User security. Your users are going to be your standard users that you have in your system. So no reinvention of the wheel there either. All you're going to do now is say, well, you know what? If I look at this from the company perspective, company 000, restaurant 000, who can use it? All these guys that are checked off. Every restaurant that I have here, who can use them? Oh, look at that, even 920 is now showing up. So I can click on 920 and you'll notice nobody can see 920. I just simply add the people that will have the right to work in that restaurant. The restaurant manager, whoever it might be, away they go. I back that out. I'm not even going to add anything right for now for that. And then I would go to my master record. These are things other than the chart of accounts. The chart of accounts is a single chart of accounts. So a payable account is a payable account. The good news is that multi-entity management will make sure that each restaurant has their own portion of that payable amount. It might be the same account number, but it will be unique to them because we have a dimension value that's attached to them that is unique to the company structure. So here is my, from the vendor side of things, vendors for company 0. This is my complete master list, all vendors, regardless of company. Well, it looks like head office maybe gets them all, but if I scroll down to restaurant 400, they have these vendors only. So if you think of the advantage to yourself, you can have this single master record file. You only have to maintain, say, for example, a Fabricam once. Anybody can use it if you give them permission. They can't even see it if you don't. It's really as simple as that. And all the different types of master records that you see in this list can be handled that way. So other than that, we would do things like, I'm just going to highlight these rather than bore you with showing you setup and configuration functionality. We would do our do-to-froms, our intercompany accounts that we need to have to make sure we're balanced. If I just take a quick look, I'm not going to give you much more than just one example here. There's an example of one right here between company or restaurant 000 and 200. That's all it is. I'm pretty anal. I'm an accountant. I've made it very unique. You could just say IC-AR, IC-AP. And again, Mem will keep all the transactions separate for you. So once you've got that all done, what can we do? Let's go take a look with multi-entity installed at, say, a purchase document. We'll do a purchase invoice. When I look at a purchase invoice here, you'll see a standard Business Central drop-down list. And that's pretty important because we don't want to change the way BC works natively. We simply want to enhance it with corporate level security. So you see, I've got, look at this, my company code. This is that global dimension 1. There's my company code of my restaurant, 0. Head office, maybe that's all head office. But where to go? 100, 200, restaurant 600. They're all here in this single drop-down list if I have access to them. It's as simple as that. And what if I want to create a new document? Let's say that you've decided that head office is going to handle, because maybe it's not 1,500 restaurants, maybe it's only 50 restaurants, and you want to handle that uniquely to an AP staff. Well, I could say, all right, I've got to create a document for restaurant 400. I'll say new, and watch what happens right away. When I click on new, mem will pop up and it'll stop BC for a second. It'll say, oh, what restaurant? Well, I want to do restaurant 400. Great. Now you notice my number series is locked in. I say okay, and guess what? I am now working in the system for restaurant 400 uniquely. I can't work anywhere else here other than 400 as far as ownership of this document. If I look at my vendor list, remember I had what, maybe 15 different vendors? And keep in mind, I'm a super user. But if I look at my vendor drop down, what am I going to see? I'm going to see probably 3 vendors. The vendors that have been assigned access rights to company 400, or the other way around. Company 400's got access rights to these particular vendors. So if I pick any other vendor, it's going to lock that vendor in for me. And it's going to lock in my body as well, so that every line can belong to a different restaurant. Now, we wouldn't typically do that with a restaurant flow chain, but perhaps I'm buying something from head office and I want to ship that or deliver that or share that expense to each of my other restaurants. I can do that right from the head office, right from here. So that's as simple as that. When you think about it, I want to do a purchase invoice. I don't want to log in and log out of Business Central. I just want to stay here. And I've been assigned maybe 50 restaurants, maybe 100 restaurants to work on. I can just go from invoice to invoice to invoice to invoice right here and do all my transactions. So what's going to happen here? This guy, restaurant 400, they're going to get the payable. Simple as that. Down here, we're talking expenses. So this could be 000, this one could be 200, this one could be 100. You can share them any which way and that you like. But ownership of the payable, we have to kind of check for, will be company 400 dealing with Fabricam Incorporated. So hopefully you can see the connection. Fabricam can be a single vendor, but I'm going to combine that with a company code in every single transaction to make those transactions unique. So back out of here, I'd like to show you one other aspect of this that I find pretty impressive myself. If I look at the purchase invoice list again, let's look at posted purchase documents. So think of yourself as an AP clerk. I've got to look here, and my boss says to me, I want you to find document number, oh, I don't know, I think it starts with 107, maybe 1072. Okay, well, I got company 300, company 0, company 400. Which company is it? Do I care? Well, 1037, what was it, 2? Oh, back off, 1037. I think it said 2. Am I getting that wrong? 103, oh, 107, 224. Sorry about that, guys. Let's try this, 107. Ah, there we go. 2. Look at this. It's all company 200. So despite the glitch of me getting my numbers backwards, you notice what is happening here. I've got a series of documents that have been posted belonging to maybe 1,500 restaurants or 50 restaurants, or it doesn't matter, whatever it is. If I had to go through individual BC companies to find a document, well, I better hope I have some kind of outside reporting tool. Let's come up with a design that links to all of them and lets me search. This is standard Business Central, because this company column is strictly a dimension value as far as BC is concerned. Yes, we've added security and the ability for a user to work in all the companies in one screen. So it doesn't matter which document it was. If I click on it, it's going to open up for me. And you'll notice when I get inside, it's going to tell me this belongs to restaurant 200. And the line was expensed to restaurant 200 as well, and so on and so forth. So that's the joy of searching when you've got multi-entity management installed. You actually can use the native out-of-the-box functionality of Business Central and accomplish everything you need to accomplish without any issues or any problems whatsoever. So that's stage one. Let's take it a step further. Let's go ahead and do a payment journal here. And I will let the folks at PairSoft give you all the details of how they can handle this, but this is the basic MEM aspect of it, and they can certainly enhance that capability for us. So standard payment journal. This is standard BC, except we have this dimension value up here that we know is the company, and we have a dimension value down here that we know is the company as well. So we got company in the header. That would dictate things like what bank accounts can I use? What bank accounts have been assigned access rights from company 000? That's all that really boils down to. So let's prepare a batch. I'm gonna come in here and suggest vendor payments. Nothing too dramatic there. Now, I've got it set up just to the end of last year. That really doesn't matter. I just want to make sure I have data and that comes through here. But you'll notice my decentralized button. My decentralized button is off. Why is my decentralized button off? Because I've said in setup, remember, I want to do centralized for this. As a user, I cannot come back in here and say, oh, you know what? This isn't going to work out very well. I need to change this. I can't do it. I can't say I'm going to run a centralized batch today, a decentralized batch tomorrow, a centralized batch tomorrow afternoon. I can't mess the system up like that and cause the folks in finance nightmares. I am going to do whatever administration says. So right now it's decentralized, or pardon me, it's decentralized is off. It's going to be a centralized batch. Now, because we've got multi-entity involved, what I can do, again, using the standard Business Central dimension value, say, which restaurants am I going to pick here? Oh, that's my company, sorry. My filter for right there by dimension value is going to be restaurant 000 to 800. So now what's interesting here is this. You might have noticed in my setup of a dimension value, I had 900 and 920. I'm a super user. I'm the administrator for multi-entity management, but it doesn't matter. When I am doing basic user-based tasks, I can only use what I've been given access to. I have not been given access to restaurant 900 or 920, so I cannot touch it. It's as simple as that. But I can touch everything I have access to. So I could do the usual process here and say, you know what, I want this restaurant, this restaurant, this restaurant, or I want them all. All would work perfectly good, perfectly normal. And I could say, okay, and that's going to give me everything that I have the right to use. But let's do this. Same thing as far as Business Central is concerned. If I put no filter in here, it's going to go look at every particular company that I have access to, and it's going to turn around and it's going to give me that access. Now, in this case, forgive me for this in the demo, but I'm going to go through a bank account and I want to make a payment here. Because I'm doing centralized, I'm going to pick a bank. And these are the banks that company 000 has access to at this stage of the game. And I'm going to try it for the bank that's the default, the bank that I own. And we'll say company 000 is Worldwide Bank for company 0. I pop that open and I'm good to go. What have I done that's different than standard Business Central? Well, because I didn't do any filtering, absolutely nothing. I just came in and said, you know what, I want to do a single check out of this bank account for all the unpaid invoices that are available up to that date. Let's say, okay. Now it's going to go ahead and, as you know, going to work through, find all the documents, whether you call them vouchers or invoices, it doesn't matter. It's going to look at them all, bring them all up here, and give me a very interesting drop down, if you will, or a list of the vouchers it wants to pay. So when I close this, look over at the left. Company 7, Company 8, Company 6, Company 8. Look over the far right though. Bank account, Company 0. And only Company 0. So if you think back of that configuration setting, if I would have set it to be decentralized, I could have come in and done exactly the same thing I just did, but I would not have picked the bank account. I would have let the system do it, let multi-entity do it. What would have happened? Company 700 for the first two lines would have had Company 700's bank account. Company 800 would have had the next two. Company 6 would have had the next one after that. And we can process them all right off the bat, all those batches all at once. And again, you'll see what PairSoft can do in enhancing that functionality as well. But the bottom line is, I have not had to go to any other BC companies and handle this kind of processing. Very, very powerful. Now, I'm going to clear this off. So the next time somebody comes in here, they don't see it pre-populated already. Because I'm not posting this, I can just go ahead and delete this functionality and I'm good to go. So having stopped right there, let's back out of this. And let's say, well, that's great. I can see where I'm running processes here where I can go ahead if I want to and process invoices for all the restaurants from one site, or I could have them processed individually and still be able to see them from one BC window. I can cut checks for invoices that belong to different companies. I can pay them from their default bank account. I can pay them from the head office bank account, or I can choose any other bank account that's available to me, as long as I, as a user, have the authority to do those kinds of things. Well, what do we get to reporting now? what can we do there? If I go up to my little search bar and I just type multi-entity management, just the acronym MEM, I'm going to get a list of reports. You'll notice down here, reports and analysis, it says I have 50, trust me. There's more like 500 than 50. So I click on that, kinds of reports I get. Status, a balance sheet, a resource user, my vendor 1099s, my income statement, and so on and so forth. So I could scroll down and see all those particular 50 reports. But I could also do something like this. Say MEM income. So I would have an income statement, just so you know in the back of your mind, that's going to be consolidated for the companies that I choose. It would work something like this. I open up this. Keep in mind, I'm running multiple companies here now, and I don't want to necessarily go out to an outside tool to get this populated. So I've got a date range back in 2020. Let's just make that a little more current. I think we could probably go to 2022 by now. Don't get me there. Let me fix it. Doesn't like going backwards. So for this year, and there's my company filter. So this would give me a consolidated financial statement for any companies that I pick here. So I could just pick them all, leave it blank, and that would automatically choose them all. And I would get one income statement that would include all the companies I wanted. Now let's cancel that. I'm not going to show you that. It's just an income statement. I go back in there again, and I could say maybe MEM vendor. Something might be more interesting if you're talking payables. When I look at my MEM vendor, well, I said I had 50 reports on the generic report. Look at this one. I've got, what, 30 or something like that just here in this alone. So notice that we have 1099 functionality, all sorts of that. We've got a trial balance. We've got trial balance by entity. We've got a detailed trial balance by entity. So what does that do for me? And we get this question a lot because if I've got 500 restaurants, 1,500 restaurants, and I've got the single vendor master file for all this, the food and the equipment I'm buying, how in the world do we ever keep that segregated and separated? It must be a mess. Well, let's change this date filter to 2022, the end of the year, just for the sake of this particular demo. Once again, we've got a ton of filters. If you're not that familiar with Business Central, understand one thing. They give you more filters than you would ever in your lifetime use. So you're never going to have a problem with what to filter by. If it's there, if it's a field, you can filter on it. And if you want to, we could send this off to an Excel spreadsheet. We could send this off to a PDF, a Word document, or a report scheduler. Or we could just peek at it. So detailed trial balance for the vendors by entity. Let's take a look. So when this window pops up, and I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger, you'll notice on the very first page, I've got restaurant, maybe it's my head office, 000. And I got vendor 10,000, Fabricam, and I looked like I got $437,000 there. So if I could scroll down here and go to the next page, well, let's go to define 200. There's 200, facility 1945, vendor 10,000, Fabricam, it's owed 14,000, and so on and so on. You notice vendor, or pardon me, restaurant 300, vendor 10,000, 20,000. So even though it's a single vendor record, keep in mind that what MEM is doing behind the scenes is it's attaching the restaurant number to the vendor number. So it knows that this isn't just 10,000, it's 300-10,000, or 000-10,000, or 200-10,000. The joy of that is you don't have to think about it. You just run your transactions, make sure you're working in the right restaurant, if you will, when you open up, say, a purchase invoice, for example. And by the way, that could be a general journal, could be a sales invoice, whatever it is that you're opening up. Identify the proper location, and away you go. And again, if I could just keep on posting through there, you'll find if I all go right to the end, if they don't use it, notice restaurant 700 doesn't use Fabricam or hasn't used Fabricam, nothing shows up. Very, very clear, very, very simple, and very, very easy to follow. And all the reporting works like that. I just showed you basically an income statement. Now I went to a vendor trial balance, if you will, and you'll notice that MEM is handling all of that activity in the background. You're simply identifying when you open up a transaction, what particular restaurant you're working in. Now, if you think about it, if I did that in the standard process, I would come up here and I would go ahead into my settings and I would find my company and I would look at that list of 500 restaurants or 1,500 restaurants or whatever I had access to. And I would go and find it, I would click on it. And then when I did that, I'd be working in that restaurant alone. And yes, there are intercompany capabilities, but they're nowhere near as convenient as seeing everything in a single drop down right here. So think of my lists, they show up automatically, and away I go. Think of my transactions. I identify them uniquely. Each and every transaction window takes what, 10, 15 seconds, if that? And then away I go, and I can do activity that not only is for that particular, say, I worked at head office for that location, but I can turn around now and I can sign and ship goods to 5 different restaurants, 20 different restaurants, 50 different restaurants in a single transaction window. Very, very powerful from that aspect of it. I can do a purchase order. And on each of those lines, each line on those purchase orders can belong to somebody else, to another entity, another restaurant. And away I go with the purchase order, and everything populates in for me. So it's very, very powerful from that aspect of it, where I can do everything from assigning different users to different restaurants, or I can assign vendors and customers and master record files, and I can even do things like have my chart of accounts be assigned as well. Now, I know I'm getting a little bit off the track just quickly here, but just for those that might be accountants listening to this, if I was to open up my chart, this will be the final thing that I show you because I don't want to eat up all the time. If I look at my chart of accounts, you'll notice that it is a single segment, if I want to call it that, account structure. And that's the way BC is designed. If I scroll down a little bit till I get to my payables, and I got my vendors domestic and it's 22,300. I want to show you this to give you the comfort that MEM is taking care of business for you. You don't have to worry about it. 22,300, that's just the standard card there. If I look at my account and look at my ledger entries, this is my Business Central list of ledger entries. Invoice number, you notice? Head office, restaurant 300, restaurant 400, restaurant 100. The identification of who owns each and every transaction is there for you. Well, let's make that even a little bit more unique. Let's back out here again. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to go that far back out. And let's look at this from a restaurant perspective. So if I go balance by dimension, that should give you a pretty good clue, right? When I say balance by dimension, if I say 000, head office, let's show the matrix. I'm still looking at 22,300, but now I'm looking just at head office, and you can see that, look at the far left. So if it's restaurant 100, restaurant 500, restaurant 1000, or head office, as I'm looking at here, you've got control. So in summary, what can you do? Well, you can keep all your activities separated without consciously thinking about it, other than identifying correctly what company you're working in. You can turn around and have payables paid in one pay batch for any number of companies or restaurants in any combination that you want. I showed you all, but you could have selected 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever the case might be. And multi-entity management will keep track of every piece of activity, pardon me, on a restaurant by restaurant or business by business or company by company structure. So you never have to worry about being out of balance unless you've made the typical user mistake of working in the wrong company, which wouldn't matter if I'm working in separate BC companies or just by transaction and focused on that. So at this stage of the game, I will pass that back to our host, and we can take a look at PairSoft functionality that can work very nicely for you as well.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Don. That was a great demo. Janet, I just handed over presenter rights to you, so please let me know if you see the screen share option. Awesome. You can see your screen.
Are you viewing my screen? It doesn't give me an option. Okay, well, let's get over to the correct one. Thank you for that. How's that?
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
Much better.
Thank you so much. All right, so we have about 15 minutes left here. So thank you all for letting us present our workplace solution with our binary stream MEM integration. So before I jump right into procurement, I do just kind of want to highlight our integration. It is a true out-of-the-box integration, meaning that we have a connector over to 365 BC, which allows us to bring in objects that we need in order to create those purchase orders, meaning your vendors, your vendor addresses, the GL accounts. We also integrate to the GL budget as well as right down to the dimension level. I'm just going to highlight some of the very specific things and kind of walk you through creating a requisition, talk a little bit about the approvals, creating that PO, and then viewing that purchase order over in 365 BC. Before I get started, just to kind of piggyback off of what Don kind of alluded to, with Workplace, if I have 4 or 5, 10 companies and I'm integrated to Workplace, without the MEM, that really means that I'm going to be logging into each company to post any transactions. With the MEM integration, that really allows me to have one single source of company, and then creating those requisitions and sending those over is going to allow me to use those identifiers for those entities. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to put myself actually in the seat of our requester, and we really want to think about how easy we can make it for those requesters to actually notify purchasing, here's something that I need to purchase. You'll see in the middle of my screen here, I have 2 different types of catalogs. We have internal catalogs, which are catalogs that you're actually going to manage. You determine the items, the pricing. We do have a module here on the right left-hand panel that allows us to create these catalogs. Within these catalogs, I can even attach a URL for a picture, and I can search and sort and add items to my cart. When I check out, it's going to take all of this information and actually place it into my requisition. Just want to highlight with these are going to be items that you manage. So if something is discontinued, you would remove it from the catalog. If I'm adding or changing prices, that's generally all managed by our procurement department. Unlike our punch-out integration is an integration to vendors that offer punch-out. So I'm sure some of your top suppliers probably do offer punch-out catalogs. We have an integration to it, and we can actually set that up in your procurement system tied to your account. Amazon is pretty popular out there in the industry, and what that allows us to do is launch your punch-out catalog, and I can, just like I was shopping at home, I can go through and select the items that I'm needing to purchase. The one nice thing about the punch-out catalogs is the vendor's kind of doing that work of managing that catalog. Normally, if there's something that's no longer available, they remove it from the catalog. When the prices are changing and they're fluctuating across all industries right now, they're actually updating them. But more importantly, I can see here that it's in stock, which is really important today in the procurement world. And I can even see when I can receive it by. Simply going to add it to my cart, continue shopping, and add additional carts, things to my cart. But from here, I'm going to go ahead and check out. When I check out, this is the first time that you're going to actually see the requisition screen. Now, the requisition screen is owned by a user, and it's actually, here are the things that I'm needing to purchase. Right away, you see that source and target company. These are those MEM entities that are set up that we integrate to for 365 BC. I have mine defaulted in for my specific user. I don't need to do that, but it does make it easier on the end user. If I click on the little zoom, I can see all of those entities that are set up over in binary stream. And because I have mine defaulted in at the header level, it is defaulting in the line level. It doesn't mean that I can't come down and actually select another entity. It's just the way that I have my system defaulted. The other option, in addition to those catalogs being punch out or internal catalogs that you have set up, we also have shopping lists in Workplace. And shopping lists can be set up 3 different ways. A user could set up a shopping list of, here's all my favorite things that I like to purchase. A department manager could set up a shopping list that only people in their department would be able to see. In my case, I do have one that our IT department manager set up with our IT supplies. And from here, they've already identified who's the vendor, what is the pricing. And for me as an end user, if I'm needing a new laptop, I can come in and select it by putting in that quantity one and loading that item. It's going to take all that information that IT already set up for me and load that into my requisition. I also have the ability to manually type in something. Maybe I went out and got a quote on my own. I can even attach the quote right here in Workplace, which will be displayed. But on this line, I'm going to add some comments, something that I want to tell my supervisor. Internal comments is to share information across maybe my approver or purchasing. I also have vendor comment. Any information that I type in here will actually print on the PO. Once I am ready to forward this on for approval, before I do so, as an end user, I happen to know for my GL account what I want to expense this out to. If it is not in the best interest of your end users to be assigning GL accounts, then that is a field that we can hide, and maybe that approver or the purchasing agent actually assigns that GL account. With that true integration over to 365 BC, depending on the source company that I picked, I'll see a populated list here of the whole GL account structure. This is certainly not something that we want our end users to see, so we can limit these in Workplace either by a dimension or a department that they are assigned to. I'm going to go ahead and pick that GL account for those office supplies. That integration to the dimensions, just like in 365, if I was coding something, each line can be coded independently. Again, for my user, I have mine defaulted in, but if I click on the zoom, I can see all of those integrated dimensions at all of those levels. Okay. I'm going to go to my second line. I'm actually going to change the entity here. Let's go ahead and click on the zoom. And to 200. And I'm going to come down. I have my vendor and I have my GL account. And I'm going to go ahead and select that. I've got my shipping method. I'm going to add a shipping method here just so that it processes into that purchase order. So again, I can continue adding items here. I can go back out and shop additional catalogs. I can move forward with other shopping lists or manually type in something I'm requesting to purchase. When I submit this, Workplace has some really robust routing, all the line detail. It could just be very simplified. I'm a user, Janet Martin. I'm assigned to a department. It may go to my department manager. However, because this is over $1,000, it may also require another approval. I can route off of any field in Workplace. Maybe when I use a specific GL account, it could go to finance just for a review to make sure that I did pick that proper GL account. When I submit this, it's already determined out my approval workflow based on all my lines and how I have my routing set up. It does start to keep a log who submitted it, who approved it, who processed the purchase order. We have 3 different ways in which we can approve in Workplace. Can't show them all right now in essence of time, but I can approve purchase orders requisitions via the mobile app. I'm going to receive an email notification right away. Within that email notification, I can actually approve or disapprove a requisition, never logging into the system or launching my mobile app. Also in that email notification, I'll have a link. And within that link, when I click on it, I'll log into Workplace. Myself as the approver, on my dashboard, I'm going to have approve pending requisitions. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. and I'm going to load everything out there waiting on my approval. I have 2 requisitions. We're going to concentrate on this one. This is the one that we just did together. So I have both of those line items. As an approver, I can look through. I can look at all of that information. If I see that there's a wrong GL account number here or a dimension assigned, I do have ability to change that. I'm going to go ahead and approve this and process it. It's going to move forward within our process. Our next step in the process is having purchasing to review this before we create that PO. Purchasing usually has full procurement rights, meaning that when they're looking at a fully approved requisition, they too have the ability to make some changes. They want to change the vendor. They may know of a different vendor that offers that at a lower price. So I certainly can come in and change vendors. Again, coded incorrectly, I can change it. Once I have satisfied that this is all correct, I'm simply going to click on Order All and Process. Now, the one line that we actually used on the one line that we actually had I don't have a ship to on one of these. Let's pick that. Doesn't let you get away with anything. The one line that didn't have the Amazon on it, that actually is going to be line fed right back through Amazon. I don't need to get the purchase order to the vendor. Also in Workplace, I do have the ability to set up purchasing address so we can automatically email those POs out to the vendor. I can see that Amazon went, that is right here. And then here is the Workplace purchase order. When I created this purchase order with our Rec-to-PO solution, it immediately sent us also over to 365 BC. So there's my computer laptop. Here's that deep integration over to 365 BC. Here's all the vendor information that we picked up. That vendor ID, vendor name and address. Here's your company bill to, and here's our ship to. All of those actually being integrated from 365 BC. This is purchase order 10625. So let's just hop over. Let me refresh my screen real quick. Get the latest and greatest up there on top. And within Workplace, and because I assigned those NIMs, we too are sending those over. Let me reset my date here. And go ahead and let's look at that Amazon order. So the purchase order is now here in 365. It went over in real time. There's my entities. So if I had changed it on this one, I would see those. Here's all my description of what it was that I'm ordering. This is now ready to be received. And with our deep integration with our PaperSafe product, we would be able to pick this up through our OCR scanner with that invoice, and then we have the document management tool as well. And I think I'm right at the time limit. That was pretty quick, but we can open it up and actually switch it back over and open it up for any Q&As.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Janet. That was a great presentation. It's great to see the product in action. Yeah, exactly like you mentioned, we'll take some questions if anyone has them. If not, we are right on time. You can also feel free to, if you missed this webinar and are watching the recording, or if you just don't have time to ask a question right now, you can definitely reach out to us through the emails on here. We will be following up with the recording as well as the collateral that we have here. So be sure to either contact us, or if you're a customer, get in touch with your Microsoft partner and we can help arrange a personalized discovery call for you.